Hello, Domes. Another video, another person who doesn't know what they're talking about. This one goes by the name Bob.
Hi, it's Dr. Bob Greykowski, creator of the Better Brain Blueprint.
Sounds fancy, as long as you don't know that it means he's a chiropractor selling courses off of his website.
Today I'm talking about the use of artificial sweeteners and how that affects our overall brain health.
This is gonna be fun.
One of the things that they found is in patients that have Alzheimer's, a part of the brain called the hippocampus. This is an area that stores long-term memory.
You're right that the hippocampus is affected in Alzheimer's. It's actually one of the first parts of the brain to be so, but it doesn't store memories. Its role in long-term memory appears to be the formation of certain types of memories and linking emotions to them. It's also involved in spatial navigation. This is why people with early-stage Alzheimer's have trouble remembering recent events and get easily lost.
And there's a pathway, this perforant pathway.
That's basically the major input of the hippocampus.
They find these proteins that are lodged in there that is affecting the conductivity of the brain and its ability to store long-term memory.
The proteins he's talking about are the extracellular clumps made primarily of the peptide beta amyloid, which are found in high numbers in the brains of Alzheimer's patients. Probably referred to as amyloid plaques, they're one of the two characteristics of the disease, the other one being a high number of so-called neurofibrillary tangles. Knowledge of the biochemistry of Alzheimer's is still very much incomplete, and neither of the characteristics have been shown to be its cause. That's why I find it a little strange that you describe the amyloid plaques as the cause of damage, and don't even mention the neurofibrillary tangles. Even stranger is your fixation on the perforant pathway. It's not nearly as important in Alzheimer's as you seem to think. But I guess that's to be expected from someone who thinks conductivity has to do with how well connected the brain is.
One of the studies is showing that the use of certain types of altered chemicals, such as aspartame, a protein that has changed its chemical structure to be an artificial sweetener.
Proteins are made of one or more chains of amino acids, known as peptides, or more specifically polypeptides, as they contain more than 20. Now, aspartame is a modified peptide, but being the methyl ester of the dipeptide of aspartic acid and phenylalanine, it's about 18 amino acids too short to be a polypeptide. It also lacks a specific three-dimensional structure, which is what gives proteins their function. So no, aspartame is not a modified protein under any sensible definition.
Is contributing to the effect of this plaque buildup inside this pathway.
Aspartame is broken down into its two amino acids and methanol in the small intestine. After being absorbed, methanol is quickly metabolized into formaldehyde. From reading the description of your video, you think this formaldehyde is what's causing the problem. If you know a bit about biochemistry, this raises the interesting question of what makes the metabolites of aspartame different from the methanol in our foods and drinks, and the formaldehyde produced by our own bodies, especially since the amount of these are a lot higher than what you would get from aspartame.
The use of long-term artificial sweeteners has an effect that appears to be affecting the way that the brain stores memory and its ability to function properly over a long period of time.
That's odd. It doesn't appear that way to the rest of us. You may want to get your eyes checked.
The challenge is artificial sweeteners are used in so many things you don't even realize the NutraSweet brand, but aspartame is a protein that is altered.
Maybe it's just me, but I've no fucking clue what you just said.
So when we start to change the molecular structure of something found in nature, a protein, and turn it into something that's sweet, like a carbohydrate,
which we haven't, since that's not how aspartame is made.
Our body cannot process it appropriately.
That doesn't follow. It's not true, and you know it's not true. You can't blame the supposed ill effects of aspartame on one of its metabolites, and claim that it's not being processed at the same time.
The other thing that aspartame does is it affects our part of our brain, our reward center. So it's like we don't feel satisfied, and we actually have more cravings for sweets, we have more cravings for food.
Wow, an idea that's actually plausible. Sadly for you, there isn't much evidence for it. The current evidence points toward the weight gains sometimes associated with diet products, as being due to people overestimating how many calories they've saved by using them, and overcompensating.
This doesn't shut off, so we start to store some of these extra calories as belly fat, the yellow fat in our stomach.
Fat distribution and inflammation, which is the reason why fat would be yellow, is a little more complex than that.
When we do that, that affects our hormonal levels.
Adipose tissue produces hormones, so yes, being fat does affect your hormonal level. But since you haven't shown that aspartame makes you fat, that's not really an argument.
So just the ingestion of artificial sweeteners over a long period of time not only can affect your long-term brain health.
You know, you keep mentioning how artificial sweeteners affect your brain health, but of the two things you've claimed they contribute to, only Alzheimer's, a disease with a pretty large genetic component, has to do with the health of the brain. It just seems a little thin if you ask me.
It can affect your overall weight, it can affect how much you're eating, and it affects your overall health and hormonal system.
Just not as much, or for the reason you think.
So my recommendation is to avoid aspartame, these artificial sweeteners, as much as possible. Read labels. Don't eat diet foods or diet drinks.
And my recommendation is to read up on things before making a video about them. It's a good way of avoiding looking like a bit of a tit.
Just one soft drink a day can dramatically affect your overall brain health.
See what I mean? A bit of a tit.
So eat, obviously, foods that are more naturally based and reduce the amount of sugars so that your brain will become healthier in the future.
Yes, excess sugar is bad for you, and normally I would give you credit for giving actual good advice, but in this context it just makes you look like a douche, because the implication is that it's entirely people's own fault if they get dementia or other brain disorders. Also, what's with you people and the naturalistic fallacy? If we found a natural source of aspartame, would it suddenly be healthy?
This is Dr. Bob with another Better Brain Tip of the Week. Remember, eat well, think well, be well. Have an awesome day.
Oh, I'm going to have a tremendous day, because I know a lot of people will be laughing at your stupidity. Thanks for watching, Thunderstorms. See you next time.